Chairman Kane and members of the committee, my name is Fatima Menendez. I'm an attorney with MALDEF. MALDEF opposes Senate Bill 1340. My testimony will focus on specific provisions, but we oppose the bill in its entirety. Section 2 requires the Secretary of State to use the DHS database of non-citizens living in Texas to identify, for cancellation purposes, non-U.S. citizens registered to vote. However, there are a few common data points between DHS records and the Texas voter roll, and any reliance on weak matches, such as name and date of birth, will result in properly registered voters receiving citizenship challenge letters that infringe on their right to vote. The next part of Section 2 was also mentioned earlier, but I want to reference it because I want to make sure that Representative Busey's question gets answered. Section 2 also requires DPS to forward to the Secretary of State the file of a person who applies for a driver's license or state ID and provides on the application form that he or she is not a U.S. citizen. Without language limiting citizenship challenges to registered voters who indicated to DPS that they were not U.S. citizens after the date of voter registration, this bill codifies the unconstitutional voter purge of naturalized U.S. citizens in Texas in 2019, which I will not get into because you already heard a lot about that. Section 3 designates the Secretary of State as the chief voter registrar and authorizes the Secretary of State to maintain the voter roll and serve as the final arbiter of the eligibility of voter registrants. The Secretary of State is also empowered to take over any duties and functions of county voter registrars. Section 3 radically changes the structure of election administration in Texas, in which county registrars determine the eligibility of voter registration applicants, maintain the voter rolls, and cancel the registration of ineligible voters. Local officials are better equipped to carry out these duties due to resources and staff. Section 6 establishes an online voter registration process that only processes applications that can be matched to DPS records. Newly naturalized U.S. citizens who have already been issued a state ID who tried to register to vote will be automatically rejected for processing when DPS finds their permanent resident cards in past records, which I also want to say that legal permanent residents do receive real ID compliant driver's licenses, which was misstated earlier by Christina Atkins with the Secretary of State. The applicant would then be notified of an incomplete application and advised to correct and resubmit. There is no process in place for them to be able to correct and resubmit their application. This section includes a lot of poor drafting. It also mentions that a person would be flagged when they are applying for their original driver's license, but then it says that the person would be required to provide the audit number of their already issued driver's license. So it's impossible for a person to be able to apply for their original driver's license and submit information from their driver's license they were already issued. There are several other sections that I include in my written testimony, and I expand on the provisions that I already included. Thank you for your time.
Members?
Yeah.
Chair recognizes Representative Busey.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Menendez, just going back to Section 2, you talked on it. How can we fix this? This keeps coming back. So let's say if we can't kill the bill, how can we fix this so it won't remove someone who has become a citizen but filled out the form? What does the language need to say?
The language specifically in Section 2 could be fixed by limiting it to voters who registered to vote. Let me make sure that I say this correctly. Voters who indicated to DPS that they are non-U.S. citizens after they registered to vote. Yeah. So you need to make sure that that language would be included in Section 2. However, that would not fix the entire bill.
Sure.
There are still several provisions in here that target naturalized U.S. citizens.
No, I agree.
So you're saying there's a chance? Support.
No, definitely not.
No, I'm with you. I just, that has been coming up in multiple bills we're hearing, so I just want to make sure we're continuing to talk about the fix on that specific clause among all the other
yes.
in here. So thank you.
Sure. The issue is that when a person becomes a naturalized citizen, oftentimes when they were a green card holder, a legal permanent resident, they applied for their driver's license, received their driver's license, then they become a naturalized citizen, they naturalize, then they registered to vote. The issue is if they then went back to DPS after they had registered to vote and indicated non-U.S. citizenship. Those are the only people that should be flagged after the settlement that was reached in the Texas voter purge litigation in 2019.
That's what led to all those people being removed inaccurately.
Correct.
Right, yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.